Hello again, and welcome to the 365 Retirement Podcast with the team at Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners. And today our guest is John Conley, one of the partners at Rubino and Lang. John, been a while. How are you doing today?
Been a little while, Randy. How are things with you?
Yeah, real good. Real good. We're working our way into summer. This is a good thing, and we're watching the market back and forth. And my gosh, we've gone down 2,000 points. We go back up 2,000 points, and here we are ripsawed around. And if you're on the edge of retirement, well, you're wondering what the heck to do. And that is why we have this podcast. So why don't we handle one of the biggest questions that people have, and that is this Social Security question. And John, you and I have talked about this at length, and there are every time I approach the topic, I'll throw it to you, or I'll throw it to Sam, or I'll throw it to Ryan, and the answer that comes back to me is, well, it depends.
It depends. I knew you were going to say that because it depends.
Yeah, it's different for everybody. But the reason that we're going to handle this today, we're going to handle it in a little different fashion, because most of the time you hear wait as long as you can to take your Social Security, wait till 70 because you'll get the biggest check. Yet 50, 60, 75% of people take it at 62. They just take it whenever they get it. So there's an article in the Motley Fool and said, okay, if you want to take it early, here are the reasons that are good to take it early. So, John, do you see people take it at 62? And are the reasons good? And what are the good reasons?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the statistics of people who are receiving Social Security benefits currently, 2/3 of those people have turned it on at an early age. And the vast majority of them, from the statistics, say that they have actually made a mistake in turning Social Security on at 62 or a little bit after that. But there are some times where turning Social Security on at 62 could be a benefit to you. But what we always do here when we sit down with our clients and try to determine when to turn Social Security on, one of the things that we look at is what we call the break-even comparison. At what point in time do we break even, and what do the numbers look like for turning Social Security on at different ages, at life expectancy and so forth? So I just recently met with a client last week, and we were looking at their Social Security. And at 62, if this individual had turned on Social Security, their payments were going to be around $1,180 a month. And if they lived to age 78, which is the life expectancy, they could have expected to receive 192 monthly payments from Social Security. And if that was the case, they were going to collect around $226,000 in Social Security benefits, okay? So then we took a look at, they waited to age 67 and what that would look like. And their payments would go up by an additional $600. But obviously they would get less payments because they waited a few years to turn it on. Now, after 132 months of payments to age 78, they would have only collected $236,000. So it's a $10,000 difference. And then if they actually waited to age 70, the payments would increase to $2,320 a month for a total of $222,000 if they lived to age 78. Obviously, they're getting less payments because they waited a longer period of time, but the payments are up. So turn it on means smaller paychecks, but potentially more, okay? And so when we do this break-even analysis, what we learned was the individual, if she turned it on at 62, she would have broke even at age 76. So if she lived beyond 76, she would have actually made a poor decision of turning it on at 62. She would have been losing $500 a month moving forward. And then if she waited to age 67, the break-even point for her was age 81. So if she lived to age 81, and then that would have been a poor decision, and waiting to age 70 would have been the appropriate decision. So there are times where we have to do that break-even analysis. It's not the end-all, be-all that makes the final decision, but it does get the conversation started on what should we do with Social Security.
Well, one of the things that you'll always tell me is Social Security planning is pretty easy. Just tell me how long you're going to live, and I'll tell you what to do.
You're 100% right. If we knew everyone's situation, you would have a better understanding what's the appropriate time to turn Social Security on. So we look at the break-even analysis, then we look at their individual circumstances, and then we look at is there benefits that we can maybe unlock for their spouses by turning Social Security on at an earlier age.
So what are some of the other things that you would look at besides that break-even point? I imagine as we're talking about if you live beyond this point, so you got to kind of look at the health of the family, the history. Do you have a whole bunch of relatives and family members that lived into their late 80s and 90s? Then you might be a person who should wait.
Yeah, there's like really 7 things that we would consider turning Social Security on. Like one of them might be unlocking some benefits for your spouse. So a spousal could receive 50% of your Social Security. So if you turn it on, and let's say your Social Security is $3,000 a month, now your spouse has access to $1,500 a month in Social Security. So that might be one of the reasons that you would turn on Social Security, is to unlock a benefit that is owed to your spouse, so to say. So that an extra $1,500 for the spouse is one reason that you would consider doing it at age 62.
It is a weird kind of a situation because I've heard people say, if you don't need it, you should probably get it. If you need it, then you probably should wait. And that's kind of talking about income levels. And for people who don't need Social Security right away, some people will say, go ahead and turn it on and then invest the money. But doesn't that come with some tax consequences, John?
It does. And some of the other areas that we would want to look at and turn it on is maybe the person who's filing for Social Security does not expect that they're going to make it to that break-even point where we talked earlier in the break-even comparison, 76 was the break-even. If someone has a health condition or longevity isn't on their side, they could maybe turn Social Security on at an earlier age because they don't think they're going to actually hit that break-even phase. Where you just talked about the tax ramifications, another reason is you may be in a low provisional income today or maybe in the future. And provisional income, that's like an episode in itself, but it's the tax on the Social Security. It's based off of your income, your ordinary income, and some other income. And that determines how much of your Social Security is taxed. So if you're in a low provisional income today, and you know that maybe down the road you projected to turn on an annuity income stream, so that may put you in a higher provisional income down the road. So it might make sense to turn on Social Security at 62 today to take advantage of being in that low provisional income and kind of keeping Social Security taxed at a minimal level.
As this topic comes up and you talk through it, you're going to learn some acronyms and FRA, full retirement age. And for most people who are baby boomers now, they're looking more at 66 and 67 as their full retirement age. If you take it early, you talk about the tax problems there. Now, can you make as much as you want and not have to worry about taxes after your full retirement age, or does that kind of continue through the entire retirement?
It's going to continue. It depends on the income that you have and how much of your Social Security will be taxed, especially when you get into the required minimum distributions. That becomes ordinary income. So we see most of our clients' Social Security is taxed. 85% of it is taxed. And if you have a spouse, and let's say you could tap into your spouse's Social Security, 50% of their Social Security. 50% of their Social Security might be better than 100% of yours. So if I'm collecting my Social Security, we'll say $1,000 a month, but my spouse is $3,000. Well, I can now get 50% of theirs, which is more than my 100%. So that's another reason turning it on at 62 might make sense for someone. And then if a person is a high earner or the spouse is making more money and then they have a health condition that they may pass away before you do, when they pass away, you turn on your Social Security now at an early age, but when they pass away, you get the higher spousal benefit once that person passes away. It's a terrible subject to breach with your clients and talk about, but it is something that is a reason why you would consider turning Social Security on. And then we always talk about sometimes when you're younger and you're healthier and you're enjoying life and you have all your faculties, having extra income when you can travel and do things is more helpful versus waiting and having more income when you can't do as much. Maybe you're not as healthy. Maybe you don't want to travel. And then at the end of the day, the last reason you would turn it on early is just you need it. I need the income.
Well, one of the things that, the big elephant in the room is all these headlines about Social Security running out of money. 2034, 2035, 2033. We hear different years as we kind of get closer and closer, but that is less than 10 years from now that Social Security will very likely have to pull back some of the benefit, and instead of getting 100% of what you've been promised, it's more like 80% of what you've been promised. So is this a factor when people walk in your office and say, John, I'm just going to turn this thing on because I don't know if it's going to be there?
Yeah, you get people who come in, they're very concerned about it. We talk about it, especially when we're doing our plans with our clients and we put in their Social Security and when we're projecting to turn it on. We almost run like two different plans showing you, hey, this is what your projected Social Security benefit is today. But we're also hearing 2034, 2035 that Social Security is running out of money. Your benefit could be reduced by 20%. So we almost run a second plan showing you a Social Security reduction of 20%. That way, if it happens, we're prepared for it. If it doesn't happen, that's great. But right now, it's hard to make a decision based on something that may or may not happen. So you got to play within the rules that we see today or the hand that we're dealt. But it is a concern for some people. And listen, some people come in and their biggest concern is, I earned it, I want it, I'm afraid it's not going to be there for me, and they're kind of hell-bent on turning it on, but it's not always the right decision. The statistics say 2/3 of the people who turn it on made a wrong decision.
Well, it is a part of the income planning process. And the reason we call this the 365 Retirement Podcast is because that is the name of our plan, is the 365 Retirement Plan. And it certainly encompasses Social Security, income planning, tax planning, all that goes into a full retirement plan. So this is a big discussion, and many people, for them, this is the main discussion, is number one, income, and number two, what am I going to do about Social Security? When is it right for you? Let's run the math and figure out what is right for you and your family. Give us a look on our website, which is 365retirement.com. You can contact Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners as well. We encourage you to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Ryan Marston and John Conley are investment advisor representatives of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Investment financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Sam Lang is licensed in your state, please call 617-630-8787. Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Rubino and Lang Insurance Agency, LLC, Massachusetts Insurance License number 1783398.